Have you ever been burned out?
Yeah, I'm sure. But that's usually like a good sign that maybe something needs to change, or you need an adjustment, or try something new. Like it happens sometimes at work where it's just like, I'm slogging through things and it's like, all right, we gotta mix it up, do something fun, or start a new unit. Or if it's musically, it's like, okay, I need to like make a different kind of song, you know? But it's important to like build rest in. I think if you don't build the rest in, then you reach those points much quicker. You can't not sleep. You can't just keep pushing yourself against your will. Like you need to take breaks. You can't be guilty about it either. Can't be on the couch like watching Netflix feeling guilty that you're not working or making music, because now you're not working and you're not even watching Netflix. You're worrying about not working. So you're not even getting the relaxation out of it. You have to like decide like, this is what I'm doing. Like I'm done for today. Turn it off. Like I'm not going to work anymore. I did what I needed to do. And giving yourself like kind of like just a minimum of amount of stuff I need to do for this to be a good day is really helpful. And for me, it's always just been like, I'm going to try to do like one thing a day. So if that's like post my pack, or that's like sample something, or that's like record some guitar, that'll be enough. And if I can do more than that, great. I'll continue to do that. But for me to like kind of reach like the point of satisfaction, it's got to be like kind of easy. I do that with like exercise. Like if I can get like 15 minutes of exercise in, I will call that a win. Like a lot of times I'll do more if I have the energy and I feel like it. But if nothing else, like I can do 15 minutes. I can do, I got my book somehow conveniently placed over here, the 5 Minute Producer. And it's all about that. It's like, here's something that'll take you about 5 minutes. And it'll help you in some way. It'll help you start ideas, finish ideas, gather ideas, work on a technique. It's just something you can do that's not nothing. So like you don't like end the day saying like I didn't do anything today. I think that's important.
I love the frame on it, man. I really do, because I think it's cool those first 5 minutes can be the hardest part, right? So if you can, there's a quote I love that's like, the heaviest weight at the gym is the front door, right?
Yeah,
and so
that's a good one.
So it's like the idea that, sometimes to just get into your studio and to like open it up and just like pick the first instrument you're going to use or whatever it is, if you can just get in there, provided you don't have somewhere else to be or something else like you have to do, if you can just get through that first 5 minutes, you may wake up an hour later and be like, oh wow, like I've been in this, so I love the idea of kind of creating a small hurdle to jump over, to just kind of be in the pool. And then you just may find that you're enjoying swimming in it before you know it, and that's really cool.
Yeah, because I agree. That's like the hardest part, is getting started. So if getting started is easier, meaning there's fewer obstacles and the commitment doesn't seem too huge, then you're more likely to wind up doing it. And with something like music, like if you're not in it because you love it, like what are you doing? I'm sure you love it for some reason, right? Like if not, like there's way better ways to, make a living and, some more secure things. But you'll probably find something about it that excites you pretty quickly. So if you can just get yourself going, you'll probably get into it. And like working out is like that. Like you said, that's a great one with the gym door. But you don't want to do it until you start moving. You're like, it kind of feels good to move. I read a blog post from, I don't even remember, it was like a business guy, like telling you how to like maximize your life and stuff. And he was talking about his goal for the day was just to like swipe his gym card. I guess you get like a card to swipe when you go to the gym. So if he did that, he's done his thing for the day. And what he found was like most of the time I don't just leave. All right, I'm here. And even if I left, at least I accomplished it. So he's putting himself in that position to succeed, I guess. And I think that's an important thing to do. But no, but if you say I'm going to work out 2 hours a day, like you work out an hour and a half and then feel like crap at the end of the day because you didn't do 2 hours. And
Yeah.
that's how you get burned out.
Yeah. Interesting. I like that piece of not necessarily just working so hard, but the mental piece of criticizing how much you are or aren't working, contributing to the feeling of burnout. That's a cool thought. Really cool.
It's all like mental, right? It's just how you're looking at things.
Yeah, and I think we forget, I mean, I've had this experience a lot, for instance, like if I'm trying to learn a part on like the piano, for instance, and it's nighttime and I'm tired, right? I'm like, oh, I can't play. And I go to bed and I'm like, maybe I can play it a little bit better than when I sat down, but I can't really play it. But then I'll wake up the next morning and I can play it, you know? And so there's an interesting thing that happens. It feels like, I'm sure somebody studied this, but I have this experience where it's almost like food, right? You eat and you don't feel it necessarily right away. It takes time to like process. And I think the same thing happens when you take in information and skills, that it takes time for your brain, your body to like really internalize them. And so to kind of basically embrace the idea that rest is part of the work, you know, and to really appreciate that processing time.
I just read some kind of study about like people at music school that like practice like 8 hours a day. And they compared them with people that practiced but took like frequent breaks, like a lot of breaks in between. And those breaks seem to be really important. They like, that's like your mind kind of like processing it or something. And the food analogy is good too. Like you said, like if you could eat a lot in one sitting, but if you eat slow and take a break, like you might find like, oh, you know what? I'm actually not. It happened to me at breakfast this morning. I had like this, made a Belgian waffle, and I ate the whole thing yesterday, so I had leftovers today, and I felt kind of like tired. I had like a little bit of a headache after I ate, but today I ate half, and then I had to get up for some reason or another, and when I came back, I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna save this for tomorrow. So
Yeah.
it's. Those breaks allow things to settle in. I think there's some truth to that.
Very cool. So I want to ask, man, because you've mentioned how, you know, people kind of creating that, like you need to have a vision or a high level kind of goal as an entrepreneur for your products and things like that, and how maybe naturally that's not the way that you operate or think. And at the same time, you're somebody who seems to have managed very well to embrace kind of entrepreneurship and as a musician. So I'm curious if you can share maybe the way that you think about it and what's been helpful.
Yeah, maybe vision like isn't what I have, but I do think I have kind of like rules or maybe like, I don't know, values maybe. Like making packs, say, like, I'm not going to make something that's some pristine version of some instrument or ultra accurate recreation of whatever. It's like, why? You know, first of all, like, and I probably can't do it. You know, like I said, I'm in a basement here, so like stuff is going on. I can't get that like super clean studio recording that you can get. I don't have like a Neumann U87 to get every detail, and even if I did, you'd hear all my neighbors like breathing. So like what would be the point? And it's not where I'm interested anyway. So I'm trying to make like stuff that I want to have, that I think is cool. And I kind of trust that there's some people out there that have those same feelings, at least occasionally, for their own music. And a lot of what I want to do is like make stuff that's like kind of grimy and has character and a little, you know, off the beaten path kind of thing. There's other things too. Is it like what I want to be doing if you like expanded upon it, right? Like, so like say like a product review came along, and I've done those before, but that's not like what I want to do. You know, that's not like my art. That's not, and look, I'm lucky in that I have a day job, so like I don't have to think about that so much either. But it's flattering, it's tempting, it's fun to get something for free too. But those projects like weigh on me, you know, and that those become the things that I have to do in order to get to the thing I want to do. And I'd much rather do the thing I want to do and try to make something interesting out of it. So like kind of like giving yourself these rules, like I just don't do that anymore. There's other ways I can work with companies, but like I'm not going to do that.
And you mentioned your other job and how you feel really fortunate to have it. And I think it's pretty common for producers, musicians, artists in general, maybe more broadly speaking, to feel like, you know, I'd really like just to be doing this all the time. I want this to be my full-time job. And they feel like that their day job is some sort of constraint or obstacle. And I think you have an interesting perspective about like kind of flipping that. And so I'd like you to speak a little bit more on that for us.
Yeah, I think this is like an upcoming podcast episode once I like iron out these thoughts a little, because I'm on summer vacation right now. And you think like you're going to do all kinds of stuff. You like, I'll do like 4 albums in 2 months, you know, like that. I have all day, every day. But time is like money, I guess. If you have too much, like it doesn't mean anything. Like if everyone is a millionaire, then no one's a millionaire. But when it's precious, when it's in limited capacities, you like value it more. You spend it more carefully. So when I'm working and I only have a couple hours after I get home to do anything, if that, I'm going to make sure I use that time. I'm going to be productive. I'm not going to waste it as much. But now, like, I got a lot of wiggle room, right? Like, there's a lot of time I can throw away, which can be hard. And it's very important during these months for me to have routine and, like, make sure I stick to stuff and not sleep too late or stay up too late, or make sure I keep my, like, to-do lists and stuff going. Because that can be you just like have a wide open schedule. There's no pressure. And I think a lot of good comes out of pressure. Like, I think we kind of mentioned like the creative limitations, like choosing like to use certain instruments or whatever. But I think also time is one of those too, where when you just have too much time, there's no urgency.
I hear that. How would you describe the way that you're motivated more naturally?
How am I motivated naturally? I don't know what you mean exactly, I guess.
Yeah, I guess because I'm like, when you have, is it external things or internal things that kind of push you forward or pull you forward?
It's both. Like, I mean, if I want to sound like noble, I'll say it's all internal, Of course there's external motivations, Like, I love showing my songs to my friends. I love like hearing what people think. I can't wait to hear what someone does with my pack in a song or whatever, I want to see views on a video, right? Like, of course that stuff matters, but it's not enough. And I can't control that as much, like I've really tried to remind myself of like what I can control and what I can't control. The internal stuff I have way more control over. I think this is fun mostly. So it's motivating. Like, I want to do this stuff. And I don't think it's bad to say you have external motivations. Like, take all the motivation you can get, like, it's hard to be motivated. So wherever you can get it is good, but maybe just don't worry about things you can't control, I guess.
Yeah, I really like that. Is there a moment where you feel like you can remember that becoming clear to you in terms of that line between what you can and can't control?
Yeah, I don't know if a specific, but like I can think of a lot of times, like when you put out songs and like, wait, why does no one care? Like, I just worked on this thing forever. And like the video of my dog chasing her tail got, so many likes from all my friends. Everyone commented, but the song I made like means nothing. It's just how it is. Like, that's artist. That's being an artist. That's a lot of being a human, honestly. Like, most people aren't thinking about you and what you're doing, and that can kind of be a relief, actually.
I like that,
So
yeah.
you don't have to worry about what other people think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're not even thinking.
Yeah, that false sense of some kind of spotlight being on you.
Yeah, we're all the star of the movie, right? But no one's in the theater.
Sure. So we've talked a little bit about this, but I want to hear like, because especially like in the way that you've developed your packs, right? And that you've been like, I'm not, if you want a perfectly recorded piano, buy Keyscape, right? Like you don't need me for that. And so what can I do? And it sounds like, I'm curious, like, was that a natural thing for you to understand that like immediately, inherently, or, how did you find your voice? What can you share maybe that can help other people that are like, what is my thing? What's my version of this that I can make?
It's probably what you're drawn to naturally. I think a lot of, if you look, like things like YouTube are probably great places to see this. There's some people that are just doing their own thing, and that's why people love them. And then there's other people that are kind of like doing that thing someone else did. And there's a lot of like that kind of stuff. And like, I think if you pay attention to the stuff like you follow that you're interested in, you'll realize like, oh, I see why I watch all these videos, because I like this guy. I like what she's doing. I like their attitude. I like their approach on stuff. So it's kind of what happens with like bands you love too. We were talking about the Beatles, and like, I love every Beatles song. Like, I don't even think there's one I could tell you I don't like. Because it's them. I just like what they do. I like the way they approach stuff, and there's something in there I'll probably enjoy. I actually can't think of a song I don't like that I would be like, it sucks. But that happens with like bands you love. But like, how do you be true to yourself? There's something in you that tells you if you enjoy it, I guess. Like when you're doing it, it's about the process of it, I guess. Like in those moments of making it, not the moments like waiting after you made it.
If you enjoy the work that goes into making the thing that comes at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, like, would I do this if nobody heard it or downloaded it or watched it? Like, that's an interesting question to ask yourself.
What's your favorite kind of video to make?
I'm trying to like making videos more. A lot of that has really been kind of like what you have to do to get the word out on what you've done. That's how I've looked at it a lot. But I have more recently gotten into the like act of making the video too. And that's been great. Like, again, like deciding to care about something, I guess, right? Like I decided I want to care about it a little bit, and then it became more interesting to me. I mean, I guess I do a bunch of different ones. Like sometimes I'm showing my packs. Sometimes I'm doing like a podcast, kind of spoken word by myself thing. They can all be kind of fun. I can't look at it as like the thing I need to do to get this thing done. It's, again, like I'm trying to enjoy the process. I'm trying to like have fun with it. Then it is fun.
I wonder if in addition to the pace at which you work, there's something to do with, having a bunch of different projects can look like something that could in and of itself produce burnout, but also by having different things to work on, you kind of get to change within a field a little bit what your focus is. And maybe that helps keep your energy going and your interest going in different directions so that you don't experience burnout as often or in the same way.
I think so, because I think they all kind of feed each other. Sometimes when I play with my band, I get excited to make my own songs. It's like, I want to try that and like something else. We did that recently. Like, I was recording guitars, and I wound up just making them like very clean, more clean than I would have when I recorded them. And I kind of knew it wasn't the answer, but I thought it sounded kind of cool. But then they kind of encouraged me to like set up my friend's Marshall stack and play through that thing. And I was like, I don't know, but it sounded so much better. And now I'm like, oh, cool. Like I want to just record some loud guitars now. You know what I mean? Like I kind of like got over that for a little while. Now I'm like, no way. They're awesome. So yeah, like you talk to somebody too and do a podcast, and then it's like, I want to try to do that. I want to see what that's like. So I think having the different stuff is kind of nice.
Maybe an important thing to try exploring if you feel like maybe you're experiencing burnout, like maybe there's a new place to explore or avenue to open up.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of those involve different people, right? So when you get stuck or stale, like that's a good place to go, is to like find inspiration from others.
Yeah, man. And as we've mentioned, man, I mean, you have so many things that you've done. So we've mentioned the podcast, which again is really dope. And I encourage everybody that's listening to this to go check out the music production podcast. Really cool variety of guests and the things that you get into. You know, it's about music, but it's also about so many other things, you know, and I think that's really like fun to listen to. And I want to talk about this book that you have back there, man, because we've mentioned it a little bit, but again, I mean, of all the things that you've made, you also have a book.
And this is the result of drops in the bucket. So this came out of probably teaching, actually, like teaching high school, because every day I need to come up with a lesson plan. I mean, I don't really have to like come up with a plan, but I have to know what I'm doing, right? The activities and stuff. So I need to have that. And a lot of times it's like some sort of writing prompt just to get started. I was like, I could probably do this for music. You know, I could probably make these. So I started it was like a Gumroad thing, Gumroad product. It was really from my music production club, which is like the subscription, almost like Patreon type of thing that I have. So I was going to send them a new activity for the year. I just said, I'm going to hold myself to it. It's a great way to make yourself do the work too, is to just give yourself challenges. Because it wasn't so hard. I just had to be consistent, you know? I had to come up with some sort of idea and just write about it. And you can kind of get ahead. Some days I would write like a bunch, and then they'd all get emailed out like the next day. But along the way, I started to realize like this is like a book now. Like all these emails, all these things I'm coming up with, this is kind of like a book. So as I finished up the year, I think I started it like around like, you know, Black Friday, Cyber Monday time. I got that because I had that weekend off. So I finished it sometime around like August, September, when I actually finished writing them. And I was like, oh, wow, look at this. Like, I should now format this into the book. So I didn't know I was doing it until I was pretty far along. And it was just forcing myself to put those drops in the bucket, really, to think about it. And what was really helpful for me is it made me really look at all the different successful things I've tried to help myself make music, and things I've learned, and things that I think like that anaphora thing we were talking about is one of them, and it's probably a day in there where like that's like a lyric writing activity, you know, like try that, see what you can come up with. But it's all like meant to be quick stuff. Takes just a couple minutes so that you get started, and then my hope is that you fall into it and keep going. But like if you don't, you don't. At least you did something. I don't know. They don't have to be done in order or every day, but it's a year's worth of activities.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I mean, and I love, you just hear so directly in this how having your day job helped you come up with a project like this, you know, like that you had the writing prompt and the activities for your students in school, and how that helped provide a frame, consciously, subconsciously, whatever, to kind of give you the idea to create just these activities to start. Wasn't even a book to start with, just to give to other people who are interested in music. And then over time you realize, wow, I just have this thing. Now I can reformat it, repackage it in a different way. And that's, you don't sit down and go, oh, I'm going to write a book today.
No, and that's something that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't a teacher. Just wouldn't have. I just started to realize that like sometimes the things I'm doing in school are the same things I'm doing with music. Like there's these parallels that happen. And like you kind of mentioned about the podcast, it's like about music, but sometimes music is like the metaphor for life. And we're talking about things that we do musically, but it's the same for so much with the rest of our lives.
Yeah, what we spend our times doing is just the medium through which we get to learn about ourselves and what's happening around us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how much do we learn like collaborating with other musicians about like communication and about, being open to new ideas and to giving feedback in a constructive way. And those are just life skills that help you in everything.
Yeah, man, really cool. So I encourage everybody to pick up the book, 5-Minute Music Producer by Brian Funk. You heard it here.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. Is there anything else that you want to share? Again, the Music Production Podcast, also with Brian Funk. Please go check that out also. Really cool show.
Yeah, I guess like I kind of keep everything on my site, brianfunk.com. That's where you'll find like my packs, the podcast, tutorials, music production club, all the YouTube stuff is connected to that as well. I think it's a good idea to have like your own centrally located place in case like, Instagram goes the way of MySpace or, whatever it is, like something that you have your own control over. Because, I mean, even like if you look at like what happened when social media went from being chronological, when you would just see the latest post of everyone you follow, to algorithmic based, like now you don't see that stuff. So if you were relying on Facebook to get all of your word out there, they just changed the code and now it's not reaching people the same way. But if you have your website, emails, those are things you have control over.
Yeah, man, I'm really glad you bring this up. I think it's a really important distinction to kind of pay attention to, in that if there's anybody out there that's interested and wants to support what you're doing, to provide a way to connect with them directly, that isn't owned by a company that doesn't necessarily value your connection with that person individually the same way, is important to keep in mind. And, we're fortunate that we do have technology and tools available for us to construct those channels.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not even saying it's not like they're evil villains, like trying to keep you away from your fans so that you have to like boost your post or promote things. They're trying to make it just like you, I guess, really. So you don't want to just have your whole way of reaching people subject to change on the whim of like, a new update on some app.
1,000%, and it's not even, I agree. I'm not saying that there's a problem with them inherently. There's also like somebody could hack your account, and you could lose that. And overnight you've lost whatever it is, that took you time to build, regardless of what that number happens to be. So there's a lot of value in being able to do that. And I think you're a great template and example of that in terms of all of the different things that you offer. So the teaching that you do at Berklee, do you also teach private lessons?
I don't. And that was, like I mentioned, like rules, I kind of decided not to do that after a while. And I like doing that. I had some really cool students that I met in person, but it's a different kind of commitment, It's, you got to be there. It's one-on-one, and there's prep involved too. I just found it was taking away too much time, and I didn't want to start having to like justify it with like stupid, costs, like, like charging way too much either. So that's not what I want to do. It's not like part of the vision, I guess.
Yeah.
It's if I were to like scale up any single thing, it should be something that I'd want to keep doing, but I wouldn't want my whole day to be filled with that, for instance. So sometimes it's just good to have like boundaries for yourself so that you can make decisions a little bit easier.
Absolutely. So if somebody wants to enroll in the class that you teach at Berklee, can they find that through your website also?
No, I don't think so. Maybe there might be a link, but the course is called Ableton Live Advanced Techniques Sampling. So it's very focused on sampling, which is so much fun because it's different every time. Every single person that shows up is going to sample different things. They're going to record different stuff. Even if the assignment was like grab things within your arm's reach at your desk, we have different stuff that we're going to grab. And even if we had the same things, we're going to record it differently. So that's a really fun class, very experimental.
Very cool. Yeah, so another thing to go check out, everybody. And on socials, at Brian Funk.
Probably at Brian Funk Music for most of it. That's YouTube, that's Instagram, and I think TikTok, which is really about all I can stomach.
And Funk is your real last name.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. You won the lottery, man. All right, so with that, man, let's jump into these little quick hits here. Which DAW do you use?
Ableton Live.
Your go-to sound or instrument?
Go to probably guitar. That's the one I know the best. That's what I've learned music on.
Soon to be usurped by the Bass 6. Go-to plugin?
Go-to plugin. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of great plugins out there. Go-to plugin, though. Like, sheesh. I mean, look, I like to stick with the stock stuff mostly inside of Ableton Live. Like, there's a lot of great stuff. Like, a lot of the baby audio stuff is awesome. Waves has great stuff. Clevgrind. But I do try to keep it as much as possible, inside of Live. Sorry, cop-out answer.
Do you have a favorite Ableton plugin?
Probably the sampler, because that's just like an open canvas. Put anything in there.
Do you have like a favorite piece of physical gear?
Favorite piece of physical gear? Like, would that count like instruments, I guess?
Sure.
I'd probably say then like my acoustic guitar. It's like a Gibson acoustic from the 60s. It was my grandfather's.
Oh, wow. Cool.
The first guitar I really got my hands on. Saved it from being sold at a garage sale for like $10.
Wow.
Yeah, if the house was burning down and everyone was out okay, that's probably what I would run after.
Wow, that's so cool that you have that, man.
I know. I love it. I mean, it's so great on so many levels. It's an awesome guitar, and of course, like connection to my grandpa. Yeah, it's probably like the most prized possession.
Really cool. Yeah. Is it within reach?
If you got a minute, I could pull it out of the case.
I would love to see it. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds cool. 3 favorite albums, and they can't all be Beatles records.
3 favorite albums. That's an impossible question too, right? Well, let's put a Beatles on there. I'll put Abbey Road on there for you. Pet Sounds, maybe, by the Beach Boys. Jeez, I don't know. Favorite album. That's a hard one. Do you have an answer for that?
Favorite albums. That's a question nobody ever.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely think of some that like I think it shifts like based on where I'm at. Like I think it's like a revolving.
Yeah.
I think Common appearances, D'Angelo's Voodoo is up there. I love the Smashing Pumpkins Siamese Dream.
Oh God, so good.
Yeah, that's another album like start to finish. I can forever. It's an incredible record.
I love the Smashing Pumpkins. Billy Corgan.
Yeah, man, me too. My same friend who put me onto The Cure put me onto the Pumpkins back in the day, and that's how I got into them. And I'll give a third one after you do.
Okay, so maybe we'll say like I'll put this under like influential, and I'll say like the first Weezer record.
Okay.
Maybe even the second one too. They kind of together, but they, those were records that just, I think they did a lot for me, and as far as like showed me like how important like melody is in songwriting. Songwriting, I think it got me thinking about more than any other record at that time, at least. And it kind of made me feel like I could do it too, you know, which it's got that simplicity to it. It's not simple by any means, but it was just, I related to it. It's one of those like timing things too, you know, like I was like 14. So like everything just came together really nicely. And, you know, like they were like nerdy, and, you know, you always feel like an outcast when you're a teenager, even if you're like not, like everyone does. And yeah, it just clicked a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah, no, I hear that, man. I hear that. Man, now I've got multiple, but I guess some of the other ones that have popped into my head, I really love Odyssey's People Hear What They See. I really love the first Black Star album is up there for me as well. The Mos Def and Talib Kweli are Black Star. And Dark Side of the Moon. I also love Obscured by Clouds, like the other Pink Floyd record. I mean, those would be up there.
Yeah, some good music out there.
Yeah, I should have those answers better prepared for the future. So, someone else you think I should talk to on this podcast?
Oh man, there's so many. Someone else you should talk to on the podcast. Should like go through my own list, you know, of people that are just interesting. You know, I'll put it to you like this. Find somebody like you're just interested in. You know what I mean? Like somebody who's like some aspect of them that you like respect or appreciate, like their workflow or their whatever it is. I find those are often like some of the best guests. So it's not so much a specific thing, but like someone you like genuinely want to learn from. And because I've said, I think before on my podcast, that it's like been the most, you know, the biggest educational experience of my life, more than college and grad school or anything else. Like I've learned so much through so many people about so many different things. And it's such a great excuse to learn from people like that are doing cool work.
That's well said, man. So, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, like you'd be surprised. Like just ask. Like the worst that can happen is you don't hear anything. But sometimes you get lucky and you're like, what? How did that happen?
Favorite movie?
Jingle All the Way. I know you get that all the time, right?
Dude,
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sinbad.
Wow. Yeah, I have a very odd memory about that. I just remember.
I know it's cliche.
Yeah, you're the 15th person to say Jingle All the Way. What character from a book, movie, show do you most identify with?
Character from a book, movie, or show that I most identify with. I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for you. It's hard. Sometimes, I don't know why I'm thinking of him, but Holden Caulfield from Catcher in the Rye, which is definitely not the answer, but he's popping in my head.
Wow,
I think, you know what I like about him? He's obviously flawed, but he's not wrong all the time either. So, like, I like that kind of character where, like, you kind of see, like, how you see their problems and where they're wrong, but, like, you also get where they're coming from. Maybe Larry David.
Like, out of Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I feel like I see that a lot lately.
Oh, man. Oh, I meant to ask, so 3 producers that you think other producers could benefit from listening to?
3 producers, man. George Martin, definitely, the Beatles and all. Steve Albini pops into my mind. You know, great work. Pixies, Nirvana, and how about Rick Beato? Let's put him in there. Because he's got, nice thing about like learning about Rick Beato is like he's also learning from everyone else. You know, his YouTube is so good.
It really is, yeah.
Every conversation is just like mind blowing. Agreed,
man. It's been a while. It's a good reminder. I haven't watched his his channel in a while. Go back there. I always find good inspiration for guitar and stuff there also. Ideas to think about stuff on the guitar differently. And
he's such a good guitar player too.
yeah.
Such a like
he is.
You know, he really deserves it. You know, all like his success and like who he gets to talk to. Like he's the real deal.
Yeah, I love his attitude.
Just,
yeah, it's a fun. He's always energetic and like there's just so much enthusiasm in it, and I like that. It's kind of contagious.
Yeah, enthusiasm is contagious. That's a slogan I like to say. Like especially like playing live, like enthusiasm is contagious. Teaching, like God, you know how much energy I have to put into it to like get ninth graders to care about anything.
Yeah, I could not imagine.
Go off the walls.
Thank you for your service, man. If you were to do one thing to break the internet, what would it be?
It'd probably be something like really stupid. I don't think any of the work I'm doing will ever break the internet, you know? And that's like the product of like narrowing down your focus and all that. Like that's, you know, you'll reach your audience, I think, but most people won't know who you are. So it'll probably be something stupid like that gets caught on camera. Like, look at this idiot falling like in a pothole or something. Man. I don't know.
That's all I have for you, man. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the people or share to them before we get out of here?
No, if you're this far, like, thanks for making it. I hope you've enjoyed the show here. I hope you'll check stuff out. You know, more than anything, just keep making stuff, keep going, and know that it's hard. It's always hard. It's never easy. I've never spoken to anybody in 300 something episodes of the podcast. No one's ever been like, yeah, you know, music's easy. I got it now. Like everyone's challenged by it. That's part of it. That's why it's valuable when you succeed, when you finish stuff, when you make a song, because it's not easy. And that's anything that's rewarding is probably difficult.
Love it, man. Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for coming through and being a part of the show. And, you know,
thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. You're welcome back anytime. And
yeah, I love what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, man. Likewise. And yeah, your enthusiasm, passion for music and sharing it with other people, man, whether it's education or just weird sounds that kind of come from a different angle, it's all really appreciated and really, really cool. Please continue to do it. Everybody, this has been Toru, and in a way, so are you. This concludes another episode of ProducerHead. We will catch you next time. Peace.